All right, Golden State Warriors beat the Memphis Grizzlies 121 to 116. Warriors lock up the number 7 seed and get to play the Houston Rockets in the playoffs, which is going to be an awesome matchup where the Grizzlies have to play one more playing game to see who gets to get knocked out in the first round by the OKC Thunder. I know this is Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, but it's just a classic. So you have to bust it out every once in a while. But this is when you know Jimmy's in playoff mode. If Jimmy would have came in like this, I guess it's not too late. Once the playoffs really are about to get started, maybe Jimmy Butler comes in like this, and playoff Jimmy is really activated. But I guess it is really just a switch. You just flip the switch, and playoff Jimmy just comes out, and he's just ready to go. Jimmy had, I'm going to get to the numbers in a second, the actual numbers, but he had like 38 points off the top of my head. He's almost one of those guys where he's his own offense. He's not an insane playmaker. He's not getting, for the most part, 10 plus assists, 15 assists, or anything like that. But he just has really high basketball IQ when he gets the ball on offense. Tonight he was getting to the free throw line a whole lot, so he's able to get to the free throw line, slow the pace down. He can score in the mid-range. He can score in the paint, of course. His defense is always great, so that's always there. But as far as him being like his own offensive system, he doesn't always get the assist, but he always passes the ball to the right guy. Maybe they get a hockey assist. Jimmy doesn't get the direct assist, but he's always making the right plays, and he's always taking smart shots. And again, Golden State likes to go up and down and have a fast pace. So you kind of saw it tonight when Jimmy gets the ball, he slows everything down, and it's a really nice change of pace between him and Steph Curry, and they're obviously working great together. But going on, I don't know if it's crazy to say Zach Edey was the most impactful player for the Grizzlies tonight. I don't know if impactful is the right word, but he flashed the most for me. Again, I'm going to get to the stats in a second here, but he had like 20 rebounds, it felt like. It's easy to kind of pick on Edey because he's super clumsy with the ball. He always does a Shaqtin' a Fool type of stuff, but he had a big impact on the game. Desmond Bane, I think, had 30 points. John Morant twisted the shit out of his ankle. It was good to see him get back in the game, and he looked like he was moving okay, I guess, for how bad he sprained his ankle. So that'll be interesting to see in their next playing game how John Morant's ankle looks. But going on to the actual numbers, so we get started with the Warriors. So yeah, Jimmy has the 38 points on 12 for 20 from the field, 12 for 18 from the free throw line. Jimmy doesn't foul bait though. He just goes to the rim really hard, and he always gets fouled on his shots. They're always real fouls, but he has the 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers. Plays 40 minutes, the most out of anybody on the team. And yeah, I mean, playoff Jimmy is here. I guess they just flick the switch, and Jimmy Butler comes out, and he's ready to go. I never said that playoff Jimmy wasn't a real thing. My take was always, once it doesn't happen, then I'll believe it's not a real thing. But every single year, like clockwork, Jimmy just turns up like crazy for the playoffs. Every single year, no matter what team he's on, it just never fails. And, again, it's just happening like it always does every single year. But Jimmy's super impressive with the 38 on really high efficiency. Steph Curry has the 37 next to Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy can have 38 and Steph can have 37, if they can both have 35 plus on any given night, the Warriors are probably going to win that game. If they can keep playing like this, they'll have a chance to beat OKC, honestly. I don't see Jimmy and Steph having 38 and 37 points every single game, but they just played out of their minds today. Steph is 6 for 13 from 3. Hits all 13 of his free throws, so they were both doing a good job of getting to the free throw line. Steph Curry with the 8 rebounds, that's impressive. The 4 assists, only 1 turnover. Golden State, they only had 10 turnovers as a team for the entire game. That's really impressive, where Memphis had the 19 turnovers. So that kind of tells the story right there. Memphis had twice as many turnovers as Golden State did. In the fourth quarter, at a point, I was thinking, is Steph Curry really not going to show up? Not to say he wasn't having a good game up until that point, but it's Golden State. It's a really big playoff game. I know it was a play-in game, but it was essentially a playoff game because Golden State did not want to play OKC in the first round, so they were playing really serious in this game. And it was probably 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, and I was thinking, is Steph really not going to show up and hit some clutch shots and just close the game out? Because Jimmy Butler had been doing so much up until that point. At that point, Steph had probably 30 points, and then he hits that big three in the corner off the Draymond Green handoff. Very next play, he pump fakes like 3 different times. I think it was Pippen flies by him and he hits another big three, and then he gets intentional fouled. I think he actually had 28 points at that point. And then he has the 2 threes. He gets intentional fouled twice, so that's 4 more points when he hits those free throws. But Steph, sure enough, shows up and hits the big clutch threes. And I don't know if you felt the same. I was kind of waiting. I'm like, Steph's about to hit some gigantic clutch shots and just put the game away. And sure enough, he does it. He's 9 for 22 from the field, so you can't really call it an off night when he has 37 points. But he's usually more efficient from the field, so I just see Steph getting better and better. Him and Jimmy were looking great together. Draymond Green has 4 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. He's 1 for 5 from the field, and he dominated the game defensively like he pretty much always does. 3 steals, 1 block. So good counting numbers, for his stocks, but he's just blowing up plays. He's like the safety out there. He's calling everything out that's happening. And Draymond's just always great on defense. I think he got ejected, didn't he? Not ejected, but yeah, he got the 6 fouls, so he did foul out of the game, but he'd already done enough at that point. Going on to the Grizzlies, like I was saying, I feel like Zach Edey, he wasn't actually their best player tonight, but he flashed the most for me, I guess because he's 7'5". Again, it's easy to hate on him because he's so clumsy. He always brings the ball down low. He gets ripped a lot, but I feel like with Edey, the stuff he's bad at is stuff that you can teach him to get better at and he can fix. He just needs more basketball IQ. Because there was one play where he gets the ball and he has to look down and watch himself dribble the ball. If you notice that, he can't just dribble the ball and be looking around and kind of reading the court to make a good pass. He's not a bad passer so much. He just can't make the reads. So that's something you can fix. They can teach him, go over a bunch of tape and try to get him better at making reads. But the 14 points, the 17 rebounds, he's 4 for 11, so he's a clumsy finisher at the rim. All he can really do is dunk, but I feel like they can work on that with him, get him a little hook shot, a little floater or something down there, teach him not to bring the ball down low every time he catches it. But the 14 points and 17 rebounds, he'll take that all day. Did have the 4 turnovers, but the whole Grizzlies team was turning the ball over. Jaren Jackson Jr. with the 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Yeah, he was 6 for 15. Just watching the game, I felt like he was pretty disappointing. He was 4 for 9 from 3, so he hit a couple big threes. But if he was more like 7 for 15, 8 for 15 might be asking for a little much for him to be over 50% from the field. But if he would even made one more shot, just get to the free throw line a couple more times, it felt like he kind of left some points on the court he could have had. Again, John Morant twisted the shit out of his ankle. I swear, after I watched it happen, like 1 minute later, my ankle felt sore because it was so bad how he twisted it. But hopefully, Ja will be better for their next play-in game. But he just sat out for maybe 10 or 15 minutes of real time. I think they retaped his ankle and he got back out there and he got some buckets on his sprained ankle. So it was cool to see Ja get back out there and try to help his team win the game. But he has 22 points, 3 assists, the 5 turnovers. He did have some bad turnovers out there, so they could have cleaned that up. I feel like the turnovers was definitely the main reason the Grizzlies lost the game. And Desmond Bane, he was probably actually their best player. He has the 30 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, a steal, a block, 11 for 21, 5 for 8 from 3. And it felt like every shot he made was a huge shot just in big moments in the game. But it just wasn't enough to win the game. I like Aldama a lot too. His game's really smooth, but he had 14 points and the 8 rebounds, 5 for 8, so he was really efficient out there. Another thing too, they had the 5 seconds, that 5 seconds violation at the end of the game. It actually was Aldama that was inbounding the ball. I put my stopwatch on, and it was a 5 seconds. They don't call it until you get to 6 seconds. So they'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once the refs get to 6, that's when they blow the whistle. If you replay it with your stopwatch and hit it, you'll see they got to like 6.5 seconds before they called it. So it wasn't a bad call. It was the right 5 seconds call. Speaking of officiating was a bit bad during the game, if you noticed that as well. But the officiating it didn't lean to favor one team or the other team. I feel like there was bad calls going both ways. I think it was Brandon Pozemski. He had a block towards the end of the game. I think it was on Pippen Jr. It was 100% a clean block. They called the foul on AirPods. There's another play when Zach Edey picked up his 5th personal foul. Forgot who was going up, but Zach Edey blocked him. It was awkward looking, but he blocked him clean with his forearm. Whoever it was on the Warriors, I forget who it was, but they went up. Zach Edey blocks him clean with his left forearm, and they called the foul on Edey. There were some questionable calls going both ways. I would agree officiating wasn't great. There were some bad calls, like I said, but it wasn't leaning towards the Warriors or leaning towards the Grizzlies. I feel like it pretty much evened out with the bad calls going towards both teams. Yeah, I mean, in conclusion, Grizzlies, the biggest reason you could say they lost, to be totally honest, was because they fired their head coach, right towards the end of the season. You got to keep your head coach and give him a chance to go into the playoffs at least. Like, I don't see why they would have done that, because if they still had their head coach, maybe they don't turn the ball over 19 times. Maybe they don't get that 5-second violation at the end of the game. Maybe the head coach draws up a better play. And, I feel like that's a gigantic reason. Coaching was a gigantic reason they lost the game, because all their guys, they played well. Again, just the turnovers, that 5-second violation. And I feel like that's the main reason they lost, And with good coaching, they could have maybe taken 3 or 4 of those turnovers off the board. I'm pretty sure the 5 seconds, it does count as a turnover, so just another turnover to tack on at the end that really cost them a chance to send the game into overtime at the least. So yeah, I mean, in conclusion, I feel like coaching was the biggest reason Memphis lost the game. If they hadn't fired their coach right at the end of the season, they would have had a better chance. But we'll see what Memphis' move is going forward. Even if they win their next play-in game, they're going to play OKC in the first round. And best case scenario, it goes 5 games, but OKC would definitely win that series. But please comment below what you think about the Warriors win. Curry comes through and hits some clutch shots. Jimmy Butler's activated playoff mode. So the Warriors are looking really scary. Their defense is really good. The Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler combination obviously works well. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler combination works really good on defense. So I'm excited to see the Warriors moving forward. I'm at a big 37 subscribers too, so please like and subscribe if you finish the video, if you've seen my other ones, and we'll see y'all again.